Sure.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. If you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Consider the minutes of the meeting of February 6th and special meeting of February 15th, 2018.
Move we accept the minutes of February 6th, the special meeting of February 15th.
Second.
Discussion? Brenda?
Commissioner Hawks?
Aye.
Commissioner Nislet? Aye. Commissioner Hager?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Discuss and review appropriate.
You did not vote.
Oh, aye. Good catch. Discuss and review the I'm reading here.
Okay.
Discuss and review the appropriation ordinance C-013118 and P-020918. Just threw me all off.
Well, I just knew Brenda was there staring at you like, hello.
Check number 22-250 for the WAPA, is that the normal monthly amount or is that variable? Is that annual or?
Well, I think it's monthly. But what check number was it again, I'm sorry?
That's 22-250?
Yeah, it's close, I mean, it changes, but I think that's close to what it's usually. But I don't know, I can go print a history off of that. If you want.
On that subject, I would be kind of interested to see, because with the WPA and the other program that we're in, and the monthly savings on what that looks like over.
Guys are gonna do that tonight.
Okay.
The KMU rate.
Okay.
That's gonna be part of that, so it will be at the next meeting.
Okay.
Because we are saving, because we were concerned about that as well.
Right.
So they did some figuring and stuff and did a good test sheet for you guys.
That would be wonderful, because none of that was taken into account in the FY18 budget, was it?
I don't think so. That's
'Cause it
we
wasn't
were looking at
approved
the
when it was
budget.
submitted.
Yeah, we were looking at the budget, I didn't see anything, so. yeah.
And the next question I had was on 22-369, Tyler Technologies.
That is our annual support, or our software support.
Okay.
That's every year. Once a year.
Anybody
And we
else?
use them a lot.
What check number was that again, just?
22-369.
Towards the end.
Yep.
Anybody else?
I'm sorry, Dave.
No, that's all right.
He's getting his exercise.
I'm gonna get my steps. All right, nobody for a public forum?
Well, we need a motion and discussion.
Oh,
He's
yes.
just
No,
putting-
No, we don't. You
We
put
never
that,
do that.
that's a
Well,
discussion
Yeah, I saw
only
that and I'm
item.
like, we've
That's
never
because I
done that.
deleted so many things. Sorry.
We'll be okay, we'll make it through tonight.
Maybe.
Okay.
Y'all are just going to trip me up
Testing
tonight.
Sorry. Now I'm embarrassed.
We
I'll
love
be
you,
honest, I'm
Brenda.
feeling a little tormented now. Just teasing. Additional agenda items. I would like to add item 8A, presentation from Dave Harwood from Vive.
Did you say Harwood?
Harwood, Harwood, right, Dave?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah.
Also, item 13A, consider recommendation to amend section 1-607 of the code book. Just in relation
What was that
to
again?
1-607, that's the paragraph I'd sent out
Hey.
for the land bank.
Dave,
we need to have a discussion about the budget for definitely sure. So if you have to add it on there, it needs to happen. I need to know what to do. We're late. Our budget's late.
I understand that, but the discussion has to happen with the land bank before we have anything to present to the commission.
Did you not present one January something to them?
Yes, and that was approved.
Okay, I need to know where to go from there.
Then that would have been something to address during the public forum,
Okay,
right?
not if you're discussing the land bank, I wouldn't think it's land bank stuff.
Discussion on land bank is on the agenda currently. Also, would like to add item 14A, consider appointment of interim city manager. So to recap, that's 8A, presentation from Dave Hardwood from Vive. 13A, consider recommendation for amendment to amend section 6-1-607 of the code book. And 14A, consider appointment of interim city manager. Are there any other additions?
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
And I'll second. Discussion? Brenda?
Commissioner Hawks?
Aye.
Commissioner Nestor?
Aye.
Commissioner Hager?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye. Appointment of city commissioner to fill an unexpired term to expire January of 2019. I want to thank everybody who submitted a letter this year. We had, what was it, a total of 8?
7 or 8.
7, I'm sorry,
6
7.
plus 1.
We had 7 letters submitted. And every single person that submitted a letter brought a lot to the table, had a lot of experience, honestly cared about trying to make a difference, and their hearts were in the right places. I spent most of the afternoon reading through the letters and thinking about what I felt would be in the commission's best interest. And with everything that's on the commission's plate right now, honestly, it comes down to, we need a little bit more historical experience. And the reason I say that is because everybody that's sitting on the commission right now has only been here for 3 years or less. Yeah, you're 2.5.
3 next month.
3-year anniversary next month. We do not have a city manager. We have to correct that. Our longtime city clerk is retired. So there's a lot of that corporate experience that should be at this table that's not here right now. And it was for that reason and that reason only. I make a motion that we appoint Robin Bell to the commission of the vacant commission seat.
Second.
Discussion. Brenda?
Commissioner Hawks?
Aye.
Commissioner Nestor?
Aye.
Commissioner Hager?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye. Congratulations, Robin.
Can we start again?
Tonight?
Oh, yeah.
You gotta go to work tonight.
What's your work?
Ready to work.
Okay, so now the question is,
And now,
I
get
was
out.
talking about this as far as the seating order, because technically he has more.
No, they
seats
didn't.
than us.
Richard doesn't work. We didn't have
Okay,
that.
so Marcus.
It's just good till
Okay, raise your hand.
19.
So, Marcus, you're gonna move over here then. You've gotta be the new
Do you
guy.
solemnly swear to support the
It matters.
Constitution of the United
We
States
missed
and the
it, yeah.
Constitution of
It's
the
3-1
State of
year.
Kansas and faithfully discharge the duties of Commission of Herington, Kansas? Will you please sign right here, Robin?
I don't know why it matters, but it matters.
Well, I was thinking, was it the 19th?
You are.
You get to join in all the fun and
I'm
games.
sure we still have a date back somewhere.
I was gonna, I could show. And let me go, I'm sorry, I did not, let me go make an agenda real quick. Packet.
I could show you. I could. let me see.
Yes, ma'am.
If I may, curiosity's killing a cat, because
Absolutely.
I'm one of the people that were there. Just, I mean, I don't know, I lived here like 17 years, I don't know him. Could one, either he or you, just, I mean,
No,
introduce
absolutely,
himself
that's,
to me, and then just kind of like give us a feel of like, you know, what experiences he's had. So-
absolutely, yes, ma'am. I apologize, that would have been a good thing to point out. Robin Bell was on the commission for a total of 7 years previously, 5 of which he was the mayor. He's been off the commission for the last 4 years, but still been heavily involved within the community. And that's some of that corporate experience that I think we need to get back over the course of the next 10 months. Speaking to Robin a little bit before this open seat even came available, he has absolutely no interest in running again. This is simply a short-term helping through the numerous things that are on our plate right now.
Well, I mean, just in case I ever choose to run again, when you say corporate, I mean, I've been a nurse for 45 years, and,
Yes.
you know, and working with the community, I mean, does it have to be a business? Do you have
No,
to
I'm speaking in terms of past experience with the city and the leases that we deal with at the airport, contractual issues, things that are going on internal to the city.
How does a person get started doing that?
Coming to the meetings, just listening to what items are being added to the agenda, being involved in that discussion. We will have 2 seats coming up for election this coming fall.
I mean, it would be nice if sometimes if you needed help, that people could like volunteer, and then that way you could just kind of like be an apprentice, you know, a little tiny bit of hands-on instead of just like, I don't rely what's in the paper, you know, I don't even buy the paper. But, I was just wondering how one, you know, because I've been here like 7
We
years.
have open board seats for the sub-boards all the time, and they're listed on the website, and we're always needing people to serve on different boards in this city, and that's a great way to get started, is to serve on different boards and work your way up before the general election. And these two, my seat and that seat, will both be up for general election. Come, I guess we have to file in June now, I gotta get it used. June 1st at noon, by June 1st at noon, I have to be at the courthouse to file. So, alrighty, so now we have to file at the courthouse. It's all new, different. I've got to learn from the last time, so. But there are multiple boards though in town that need people. We're begging people to serve on boards.
A good person to talk to actually is sitting to your right, Natasha Barnett.
Or left.
Or your left, I'm sorry, my right, your left. Natasha Barnett's on 2 of our boards. She's treasurer for the land bank and also on the zoning appeals board. So she'd be a good person to talk to as far as getting involved on those numerous boards.
Okay. Because I figure I mean, like I said, at least I know medicine extremely well, you know, and you know, like EMS, I mean, those are things that.
Oh, absolutely.
In your community, you're gonna have issues with those.
I know the 2 main ones right now are the planning board, which is directly for them, and the housing authority has an opening too.
And that was part of what made this decision so hard, because it come down to doing a pluses and minuses list on all of the names, and there were pluses for everybody and very few negatives. So when you've got 7 great candidates trying to pick one, that's a great problem to have. I would much rather have that problem than we're looking for somebody and I've got a choice between the rock on the corner and the block down the street.
Well, and the thing is, out of those, I mean, as far as when elections have been, everybody who's been elected the last 3 elections have all been brand new people. Nobody has been a returner. I just feel like, yeah, like you said, tonight the thing came down to we needed experience right now, and Robin offers 7 years of experience for us. So I would say if you're interested, definitely file for
Absolutely.
that election in November.
I would absolutely love if we had to do a primary again this year because we had so many candidates.
Yeah.
That is a wonderful problem to have.
Well, that should tell you there's so many things in this little town that needs to be fixed.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've known this town for 69 years.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, my great-grandparents, my grandparents, both of my parents, I'm 4th generation, and I've got a daughter, and so I've known Herington since I was born, and, I I just gotta be honest, maybe, none of you could possibly know it because none of you are 69, but it's not the town it was back when the railroad was thriving and there were multiple grocery stores and a theater. And
Very-
it
very
was fun
few
to go
small
to the
towns are.
skating rink, you know, it was just, it was just like, and to have to go to Omaha and live and come down and visit, I mean, it was just like, it was magic. You know, and I said, by the time I was 10, I said, oh, I'm gonna retire here when I'm old, and I did, and it's like, you gotta be kidding. It's not, but,
Several of us sitting at this table moved back here on purpose. But-
well, I moved
All
back
right,
here.
let's, not to cut you off, but we gotta keep on going with the meeting. Move on to item 8, appointment of city commissioner to fill a position in the land bank, term to expire April 4th, 2018.
I move that, I nominate Commissioner Nisler to fill the position on the land bank, the term to expire April 4th, 2018.
I don't,
Second.
nothing nice to say to you right now.
Discussion? It is a railroad town.
Oh, he already warned me at school this was happening. It wasn't a question.
Brenda?
Commissioner Biddle,
Aye.
Commissioner Hawks,
Aye.
Commissioner Nisler.
Aye.
Commissioner Digger,
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye,
Out of curiosity, you want to tell me when those meetings are? I know that they're
absolutely.
on a Tuesday, but I don't know which, second or fourth.
The second.
Second. At 4? No,
5.
5. Okay,
Let's stop and think for a second.
I always have to think about it too.
add it to my calendar.
8A, Dave Harwood for Vive.
You'll have to turn that on. It's-
Oh, okay.
Bring our prices
By bottom, huh?
It's on the side.
down.
Okay.
$1.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to chat with the council tonight. We were approached by the former city manager about the possibility of enhancing our internet services here in town. So I went back to our company and we are now planning some significant enhancements to our services throughout Herington. We haven't enhanced the internet network here since we've acquired the system from Allegiance like 5 years ago. We're bringing in a new backhaul circuit. We're installing new electronic hardware. We're working in the plant, and we're putting standby power at our primary hub site here. That'll enable us to launch 25 megabit internet service throughout town, regardless of where you live. It's not distance limited. That backhaul circuit will also give us the ability to increase speeds as demand grows. As I mentioned, this is a pretty significant investment by Vive in the city of Herington. Hopefully it'll make the city of Herington more competitive, offering internet services that are typically available to larger communities. But our objective is to increase our customer count here. So we'll initially launch the 25 megabit internet service. It will offer a 2-year price lock of $40, and that includes whole home Wi-Fi. Most of our customers get much less today and pay more. So our current customers will be able to move into this plan, okay? But the idea is that we're gonna grow significantly. So in order to do that, you know, our database of homes that we can potentially serve it's old. It's from the previous company. And we're requesting that we get a list of addresses, no names, just addresses that are served by the water department so that we could at least communicate this opportunity throughout the whole city, business and residential. You know, any assistance we could get on getting the word out, you know, would be greatly appreciated. We're looking at probably within the next 60 days to be able to turn up service. We're gonna be doing a lot of work in the interim. You're gonna see trucks in town working on the plant. We just brought back a technician that's based here in Herington. So we're very excited about the opportunity, and we appreciate the support. any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
You said the current buyer customers will be able to take advantage of opportunities, so even if they're in a price lock now or a contract, they'll be able to upgrade to the new services?
Yes, right now we offer 3 and 10 meg services here in town, and many are paying more than this price lock for the 25 meg service. So they'll be able to move into that 25 meg with the 2-year price lock.
And service will be still provided by the current cable system that you've got in town?
It will be, yeah. We'll have to do some work on the system, and we're in the process of doing that right now.
I think it's a terrific opportunity, and you said you already turned in the information request. Brenda, have we already received that, or?
I have.
Okay.
I thought, yeah, and I can make sure that gets turned in. I thought I emailed that, but yeah, I'll double check.
Yep, absolutely. Brenda would be the one to check on that. And
Okay, Brenda.
like I said, like we had discussed before, can't give names or anything like that, but absolutely addresses.
That'd be great.
It's a good thing.
And we'll keep you posted. Dave, I'll keep you up to speed on our progress.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you very much.
Questions? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Gary Young regarding occupancy of 801 North D Street. How you doing, Gary?
I'm doing fantastic. Other than it's cold outside. I personally have nothing to report on that. However, the new owner of the property is here again tonight. And
Okay.
he perhaps has something to say, and I'm sure your building official might also have a word or two.
Okay.
Well, as you can see, I've already done the outside of the house. I've painted the inside.
Would you please state your name, please?
Luis Alvarado Jr.
And you're currently residing at 801 North D?
Yes. I haven't called Scott because I've been sick with the flu and started working overtime and so forth. So, but the outside is looking a lot better, and I got the inside. It's just a matter of having him go out there and look at the inside of it now. So that's where I'm at right now.
Okay.
Was this on the condemnation list that we tore down?
Not on the condemnation list, it just hasn't had a certificate of occupancy after a fire, and he's currently living in the house. Scott, do you have anything to add? I know we spoke briefly before the meeting, but for everybody's benefit.
Again, this is your folks' call. My recommendation is, and it's a tough call, but I would say give them 30 days to get the interior to livable conditions. If it don't meet the 30 days, I hate to say it, but we have to get them out. We've sat on it long enough. This is a health issue, and we can't have that.
How long has he been in there?
Been in there quite a while now.
I think we discussed it at our first meeting in January, was the first time it was brought to our attention.
And he's been working on it apparently,
He has been working on it.
so
He's been living it a lot longer than,
at least he is making headway on it, to get that cleaned up and
So a
so.
lot of it also is financial. I mean, I went through a divorce and all that stuff, so financially it's kind of hard to bake it off on $11 an hour, so I'm trying to do what I can do.
And I know in the past when we had people on the one on behind the Frank Bowes, they did the same thing with people in there, and we just kept an eye on it. As soon as they stopped making progress, then we shut them down, but if they were making progress, we kept them going. And like I said, it's up to us, or you guys, how you want to, how long you want to give them.
Well, and I think Scott makes a great point, is this has been going on for a month. When we originally heard it, they were asking for till the middle of March to get it compliant. 30 days puts them in the middle of March. I think that's a reasonable expectation that by our second meeting in March, either he will have been issued a certificate of occupancy and passed inspection, or the house will be vacated with no expectation of further expansion or extensions.
My concern is, at least if this were me, I would have called Scott and had Scott come in and see it so that he can be like, hey, yeah, this is what he's doing, because we do know that the charred wood and stuff is a health concern. It's not just, oh, this property needs cleaned up.
I think as far as what's charged, it's really, my personal opinion is maybe 10–15% of it. The rest of it is just the soot on the, what do you call, on the plaster, on the lath. I mean, and structurally, the damage is just what's, I mean, you could, there's actually maybe like 8 2x4s that are actually burnt on the inside. And if that's considered charge, it's just a matter of cutting them off and replacing them. Other than that, it's just the soot on the plaster, the lath.
That's the biggest
know.
concern is the soot and the charring.
Yeah, that's my concern. If it was just, oh, it doesn't look great, it needs some help, that wouldn't be my biggest concern, but we're putting people's health in danger here.
You're putting his health in danger.
Are you the
Well, but
only,
that's up to him.
Yeah, I'm the only
are
one.
you the only one residing there?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know, just as I've driven to and from school to my house, I drive down D Street and I've seen kids outside of the house.
Oh, they come and visit. And
Okay,
that's
but
it.
they are not living there?
No,
Okay,
no, not at all.
because it's one thing to let him put his own life, it's another to put children's lives.
I think we ought to give them the 30 days, come back to Scott's recommendation, and make a decision then.
I mean, now that we're here, what is it that you know, that's gonna expect? You want the whole house remodeled? I mean, put $20,000 off, $11 an hour budget?
Just
or-
a,
You
Scott
know,
will,
that's-
Scott will give you a guideline where you want to go.
The soot and the charring is the main concern.
Right.
Get
rid of the 8 2x4s.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's,
That's all it is.
That's all I've been asking for the whole
Right, hear
time.
that.
but I know, personally, when you come back, I want Scott to have seen it so that Scott can say, this is where we're at.
right.
I want to know that he has physically walked in the house and can make a recommendation at that point.
Is that still what they call it, Scott, a certificate of occupancy?
Yes.
All right. Anything to add, Mark?
I think, well, I agree, we give them the 30 days, but, and with knowing that, I think that's been more than fair, but that's exactly what he asked for at the beginning, and if it's not there,
We'll decide then.
yeah.
See on the progress, you have to make progress in there.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
get with Scott, will tell you what you need done.
So, we're not asking, like I said, we're not asking for the whole house done, just
No.
the soot and the fire damage cleaned up, that's, so you get.
Yeah, I mean, I
yeah.
could take all the plaster off in probably a couple of days, but that's not gonna leave much insulation on the inside
Yeah.
walls. But if that's what it takes, then that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
Well, again, they're allowing you to do exactly what you asked for to start with.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think that's more than fair.
Right, and I'm getting there. I mean,
What's starting?
you can see the outside already. and-
That house has been vacant forever. I mean, I'm
Right.
just glad.
Yeah, it's been vacant forever, and all of a sudden I'm in there, I'm trying to do something
Exactly,
good with
somebody's
it.
trying to-
Now I'm in
and
the
now they're gonna
spot,
kick
so.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why we've been working with you, sir, that's why.
Yeah. I mean, you can look at it a couple of years versus a few months now, and this is where I'm at, so.
I understand
It's a
that.
step
These
forward.
houses are,
We're not asking for the house to get restored in the 60-day period, but you have to have a certificate of occupancy.
Right.
That's for any residence. Doesn't matter if it was on fire or freshly built or anything else, you have to have a certificate of occupancy or you cannot reside within the residence. So I would make a motion that we table this for 30 days, be the second meeting in March, at which time either the owner is to have an approved certificate of occupancy or to have vacated the premises.
That's actually 28 days.
Okay, 28 days to the second meeting in March.
Which is
Well,
March
that's
20th.
a legal business month.
I'll second that.
What was the date of the meeting again?
20th.
20th? That's right, because it's February. Discussion.
So you're talking in 30 days, if you don't have it done, you want him out of the house.
Correct.
So if he's got everything cleaned up and not, I don't know how far he's got on it, I don't know.
He's got a lot.
He's already got quite a bit of it done. It's just a matter of finishing up the rest of the inside and coordinating a schedule with Scott on the timeline that we're outlining for him, just for Scott to come over and.
Scott, is there a feasible time you think he could have that done?
The main focus right now, just so we can stay in the residence, is getting the soot and the charred wood taken care of. I can give them the certificate of occupancy to stay in there, and we can work on the rest of the timeline. But it's that main health concern is the big one right
And
now.
he should be able to get that done in 30 days?
You should.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Well, it was out of an abundance of caution. That's why we haven't pushed it more than we have in the last one.
I know, I know, it was an eyesore, now it's at least getting closed in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's working on it, I didn't know Mr. Lewis was doing it, but, better than, us tearing it down, something livable and.
Like I said,
Absolutely.
my biggest concern was when I thought that there were potentially kids in the house. I wasn't willing to go with that.
Any other discussion? Brenda?
Commissioner Bill?
Aye.
Commissioner Hawks?
Aye.
Commissioner Nestor?
Aye.
Commissioner Hager?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye. Item 10, discuss and review revised estimate of ADA on Broadway. I was very excited to see those estimates again, thank you.
You're welcome. I just put in the 2016, just for reference, just to kind of show you the price difference from waiting. So,
Everything goes up.
and it showed where Leo provided pictures of the tubes, that's just for two
Right.
lots.
The
I thought it
two-
was all four corners and it's not.
Oh, no. The two corners that we're speaking about, for those that don't have the maps, would be the corner, the northwest corner of Broadway and Walnut, right there at Miss Lizzie's, and then across the street at the mini mall, also on what would be at the southwest corner of Broadway and Walnut. Total expense for the two of them was about $28,000.
It's not bad.
And what are we doing?
That's completely tearing out curb, ramp, all the concrete at the corner and redoing it ADA compliant with the ADA compliant
So it's gonna
rubber
look like
rings.
the one corner on, by the drugstore,
Yes.
basically.
We had set aside $10,000 in the budget in 2016 and $10,000 in the budget in 2017. That should have been part of that carryover from, I think that was from the 2006 sales tax. And we had budgeted $10,000 for the 2018 budget for ADA compliance. So we should be able to do both corners this summer.
So if you notice this is 30 days, so.
Not
if
too
you
bad,
want
it's
to-
not as much as almost. Pretty sure that was money supposed to be in it until
With everything else going on right now, do you think that $10,000 that we had budgeted for the ADA compliance in 2018 is going to be?
Yeah, I think so. So we have special hires for next week.
Because we need to get some work done.
I agree.
We should have done the corner there at Miss Lizzie's last year. Yes, ma'am.
My own concern would be with the mini mall right there, whatever they decide to do with it, is it going to damage the new ramps that we're putting in?
Right, I understand what you're saying, but it should not. We had looked at that before.
Okay.
They're gonna go back in with 8-inch thick concrete and it'll be good.
Okay.
Any other thoughts?
And just those, the ones that are doing work? And they're just pouring concrete?
Oh, they gotta tear out everything
No,
that's
they'll
in
have
there.
to tear everything out that's there and then replace the stuff.
Didn't we used to do that ourselves?
I know we can cut.
We did not do that one over there. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to have us do some of this to maybe,
Well, the contract already stipulates that we're doing all of the removal.
They have to be done by somebody.
All of the removals and dirt work will be done by the city. Dirt grade will need to be left within 1/10. And the city will provide us a site near construction area to dispose of all removed dirt.
So we're doing half the work and they're getting paid $20,000? I mean, and we have it, it's in the budget?
Think we need to get more bids, or?
No, I just thought, every little bit we could save.
I'm
Do you want to have Leo at the next meeting and maybe you can talk to him a little bit?
How long has this been on the agenda?
This is the first one, because this had just gotten brought back up, so I
Yep.
had Leo.
I don't think it would hurt to
Look at
talk
this.
to Leo,
I
or
kinda-
or to maybe get a second estimate from
Well,
somebody.
And if Leo comes to the next meeting, we're still within that 30 days, we accept him the bid or not. So I'd like to see Leo, because I have a question too, because we do have a saw. We do cutting around
Well,
town.
they're gonna tear it out themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, city.
But why are we paying?
Well, if you look at the bid, there's nothing on there about removal.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money for 2 corners.
I'll have him at the next one.
That's a lot of money.
And maybe, maybe there's not,
We don't need to have someone ADA.
As long as we know the guidelines.
Well, as long as you buy the ADA ramps.
Yeah.
Right, you have
Exactly.
to make sure it's not
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
for the blind, I mean. it's
Yeah, they have to have
just like
those-
bricks and
The
stuff.
bump.
It's worth asking, and maybe they don't have the capability to, I don't know. I just assume they did, but maybe I'm wrong. If Leo could be here,
Well, and capability and staffing might be another problem too.
yeah, but maybe time to save money, sorry.
Yeah, can't hurt to ask. So I guess then that goes back to the street department, we want more information for the next meeting.
Are you tabling that then, or? you
Yes.
It was just a discussion.
Is that March 6th?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was not there as an approval item for today anyway.
No, I just,
It's going in her notes for a
yeah,
bid
it's
on
just
March
returning.
6th.
Okay. So are we ready for item 11? Consider contract for audit services with Lindbergh, Vogel, Pierce, Ferris Chartered.
Is that the one we always have?
And I started pulling up my budget earlier and I didn't get to it. How does that compare with what we had budgeted for FY18? Because the cost on this was 13,000, what was it?
I don't know what we paid them last year. I think they're always within the same amount, but don't hold me to that.
I think they're a little higher. I thought it was
This
like
time?
12.8, 12.9 last year.
But, yeah. But just to take into consideration, I'm having to bother me more.
Right.
Well, it's still within $500, if I remember right.
I don't remember what it was last year.
And-
Debbie had already paid that before.
And in years past, we had talked about maybe it would be a good idea to get a different audit service just to make sure that nothing's being overlooked, but I do not think that this is the year to do that.
They were, this is one we
We're
used.
not getting too much stuff tried.
They're very good. We always pass it.
Any questions or anything we had to ask, then we'd like to support. I don't think they're gougers. But like I said, later on,
It's like a decent price.
Was that?
It looks like a decent price.
So then do I have a motion to accept the contract?
I move that we accept the contract with Lindbergh, Vogel, Pierce, Ferris Chartered for auditing services for the city.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Brenda?
Commissioner Bill?
Aye.
Commissioner Hawks?
Aye.
Commissioner Nestle?
Aye.
Commissioner Hager?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye.
It used to be in last.
I keep thinking she's saying Commissioner Bill.
Bill.
That's what I keep thinking, it sounds like Commissioner Bill, I'm going.
I'll train her.
Number 12, discuss appointment of engineer for Phase 1 and plan and Phase 2 application for safe routes to schools.
I'm sorry, Robin, you don't have any of that.
Is that for the sidewalk going out to school?
Phase 1 was approved for $15,000, the city had a 20% cost share at $3,000. But that was just for Phase 1.
And phase one is,
Pretty much the design engineering phase. Go through and figure out what we need, how much it's gonna cost, where it's gonna go.
Let's see if we get approval. We have to
Yeah.
get past
and,
that.
and the state pays some of that?
They, on the hook for 12,000 of it.
Yeah.
It's downloaded. It's a fixed file.
Yeah.
You can look at it.
I don't need to, I know it.
Which email is it a part of, Mark?
It's the first
I got
one.
it. I got it.
Well, I know you haven't.
Oh, you wanna know what email
I
we're
don't
on?
know where it is.
There were three,
Oh, we're good, I got
It
it.
is, you found it?
Yeah, I got it.
there were three applications that were in your email. We had a meeting yesterday afternoon, went through all three of them. And I won't even try and pronounce that name. Was it Beachney?
Yeah,
Was the
finish.
Benesh? Was the submission that the board had selected?
Who was, who was that?
That was Ron Wilson, Chief Holmes, myself, Brenda,
Committee
Robin.
does.
Robin.
Robin Hatfield,
Okay,
Donlin, Beeler.
Okay.
Yeah. We had to
Heavy,
get a
heavy on the
committee
school side.
Yep.
members. We wanted their input, and if it goes past, we're gonna kind of put Ron as the contact person, so that they make sure that they had a large input in it. So like we said, we all leaned towards this one. This is the one that we suggested.
I want to say, I know looking through that, through their packet of information, they have done plenty of the safe routes to schools.
And you guys already did your homework with it. in the meeting.
Well, and another thing that sticks out with them, if you look through the references that they list, is not just how many safe routes to schools programs that they've done, but how many of those were approved.
Yeah.
Phase 1, Phase 2 approval, Phase 1, Phase 2 approval, Phase 1, Phase 2 approval, you go down the list. The other two had a lot of projects that they'd worked on, but they didn't seem to have near the success rate. How did we decide that was Beachney?
I guess.
Pretty sure that's not right,
Benesh.
but.
Benesh?
Benesh.
Benesh.
I think it's Benesh.
Benesh.
Bonet.
Oh, no, I know this, we talked to Brent Chestnut.
Alfred Benesh and Company.
Yeah, that's it. Benesh.
And I would make a motion that we appoint Benesh to as the engineer for Phase 1 and plan in Phase 2 application for safe routes to school.
Second?
Discussion? Brenda?
Commissioner Bale.
Aye.
Commissioner Hawks.
Aye.
Commissioner Nestle.
Aye.
Commissioner Hager.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye. Okay, discussion on the land bank. Natasha?
First of all, what's the land bank? I'm missing something.
Yeah, you missed a lot.
After you went out.
Yeah, land bank was a board that the city stood up. I don't remember the address for a house, but the house was going to be donated to the city.
It was right after.
It
I
was on
elected, so the
2nd
year after
Street, I
you were
believe.
off. It was
Yeah.
the year after you were off, wow.
And they provided funds to help the city take care of said house. The city then stood up the land bank to take possession of that home and facilitate finding another use for it, which we did, or they did. I wasn't on the land bank at the time. They found somebody to buy the house, generating a little bit of additional revenue on behalf of the land bank.
It was 209 First Street.
Then the city transferred all of the Logan Point lots to
It
the
was in
land bank.
2015.
The benefit of the land bank is that there's no property taxes on it.
There's no property tax on it.
No.
When the city owned it.
Well, there's no taxes on it, period, when the land bank has it.
When we didn't understand it in the beginning of it.
The land bank is how we facilitate that, though.
It is something that Ron, at the time, Junction City started and came back.
The deal with the land bank is we can take any property, basically, and we can do more than we're set up to do right now.
Who funds the land bank?
We're
Right now,
still
it's
funding
self-funded.
off of the money that was given to them when they started. Wells Fargo had originally given them $10,000, actually it was closer to $11,000. They sold the house that was given to them also for about $11,000. So we have been running off of that. We don't have a lot of expenses just because we haven't done what we're meant to be doing. We're meant to go buy them off the tax sale if we can and get them back on the tax roll if at all possible.
So on the land bank, you're on the land bank?
I'm the treasurer.
And who's also on the land bank?
Right now, it is myself,
Me, apparently.
now
Rick
Sarah.
Freeman and DJ.
Mhm. And that'll be something else that I should have printed off a copy of the 1-607 we'll be discussing tonight is recommending changing the
Very
composition
last-
of the land bank
I think it's
to
very
include
last
all
page.
5 commissioners and 3 at-large members.
It's highlighted.
All right, I'll find it in.
I think it's the very last page.
The ordinances, is that,
I'm sorry?
was the ordinance? Is that where the original code is found?
1607?
Anyway, can anybody tell me for sure what happened to the budgets the past 3 years? When I, don't look at me like that. When I called the state, seems nobody ever filed a budget for us.
I'm sure that they did not.
Okay, when I called the budget guy that's listed on the actual budget that we have to fill out, he was trying to get a hold of the clerk, so I don't really have an answer on that.
Hold up. Don't we have to release the budget into the
Yes.
state?
Yes.
I'm
The
asking
city
you.
does.
Yes.
We submit the
You have-
city's
yeah.
budget,
Mhm.
yes.
Okay, this is talking about her stuff.
This is
This
talking
is the
about the
land bank
land bank's
budget,
which
budget
is
that
tied to
they,
the city.
that
Hey.
they submit to this,
I'll explain
to
that.
us, and then, or to you, and you approve
Right.
it.
According to our KSAs, and I have them here if you'd like them, we have to only have the governing body approval. Now, according to the Kansas Department of Revenue, we are not considered a political subdivision because we don't have taxing authority, so we had to get our own tax ID number. When I called Roger Basinger, the chief financial officer of the state of Kansas, and talked to him, he kind of laughed because he found it quite funny that the state revenue department doesn't find us as a political subdivision because the way he's reading it, that's where we belong. So he said technically, because they won't recognize us as a political subdivision and we have to have our own tax ID number, that the correct way would be for us to have our own budget and submit our own, separate of the cities. Now, we do have to have the governing body approval, but it does not say that it has to be submitted and published by the city.
We're included in the city budget.
If we ask for money, it
Right.
would be similar to like how the Roadhouse gets money from you guys.
Well, and that's part of the problem that we've been having with the land bank, because if you call Wyandotte County or some of the other land banks that are currently existent in the state of Kansas, no 2 land banks are set up the same way, and none of them do business the same way.
No, in
Some
this-
of them do business under the city tax ID, some of them have their own tax ID.
according to the Department of Revenue, they should not be operating on the cities, period. Unless they have taxing authority technically. If they can fit in that political subdivision tax book, then they can be on the cities. Otherwise, they're supposed to have their own.
Right, but when you look at Wyandotte County, who's been doing, they've
But-
had a land bank for how many years?
You gotta realize, Wyandotte County also took out the city, took out the municipality. So they are strictly county. They also had 100-some attorneys fixing theirs, and they are dual state. So they may have like a contract between the 2 states.
But
Because
my point is, you look at any 2 land banks,
they're not the same.
none of them are the same.
Some of them don't have land banks show up on their audits, so we're not quite sure where it's at. Because Hutchinson's like that. So that's kind of, yeah, where we're at is we don't know what we're supposed to be doing for sure. I just listen to the state and federal.
Right. Specific to tonight, though, what's your question about the budget?
We need to figure out from this point on, if it's strictly us, how we're supposed to go about doing it with the city, if we're gonna submit our own. I will try and get it done by calling one of the state people to help me put it in the workbook for this year and get it off. We're already late, but Roger said he wasn't worried about it because we're not getting funds from the county or the
Right.
city this year. So he said, go ahead and just get it submitted but next year, we're gonna have to approach the city for money, I would imagine.
Depends upon how the budget works out. I would make 2 recommendations. First, we need to wait until after the recomposition of the land bank board. Second, Brad is still researching the tax ID, trying to discern exactly what our council says is the right answer.
Okay.
And that will be done in conjunction with what our auditor thinks is the right answer. Now, what Topeka or Kansas City or anybody else thinks is the right answer, I'm inclined to go with what our auditor and legal counsel both agree is the right course of action.
Well, and when I had talked to, and that's why I had talked to Hutchinson, because
Right.
when I got to looking at the audits, they have the same company as we did. And I'm like, how do they go under their cities and we can't? But when I look at their audit, their land bank is nowhere on the actual audit.
They're on the city budget, but they're not included in the city audit.
Not as a land bank, no.
Doesn't that seem counterintuitive?
I don't know how
Are
they've
they-
got them listed, but they
Are they
are.
listed some other way?
I think she told me dog pound. I'll have to go back and find.
Dog pound.
I think that's where it's under, is their dog pound. I will go back in my emails, it'll be,
Right, I understand that it's frustrating to drag this out even further, especially how long you've been fighting the just the simple tax ID question.
I think we still, if we stay under that, I think we still need to figure out if we do a 1023, 1024, and a 990, we have to do that.
Right.
That's
We have-
what I've came up
because-
with.
Because of the nonprofit ID number.
Yes.
And the first one we had to take care of was the 1099s, because it has impact to other people. And
Yes.
and you're right, that needed to be taken care of immediately.
Yes, and it's done.
This, we've got time to do it right. We're already late. Later's not gonna hurt on that,
Are you sure?
positive.
Okay. Okay.
The land bank is a part of the city now? Okay. Why do we, what's this benefit us? Of them just fixing up the houses, or, I mean, I just,
We took properties like Logan Point would be a good example.
no, but why did we give that out and that way, do we
Because-
have to still have control of it?
Through the land bank.
Through the land bank. It's just
Why did the
tax-free.
commission get, I mean,